y'all? I came out to the woods to do our reading again today. I thought that was really fun. We're in Magick hour. It's the very last hour of sunlight, and in the film industry we call it Magick hour because it gives that perfectly peach hue. I think it's very flattering, if I don't mind saying so myself. How's everybody? I am good. When I was writing the Instagram post this morning, for the second time this week while I'm writing, it happened Monday during the post that I was writing for Instagram, and today, a crow perched on this dead branch on this tree in my front yard and was like cawing and making a big scene and like just hanging around forever. So I was like, okay, I see you, crow. I looked up the meaning, and according to Ted Andrews, crows are a sign of unexpected magical help, and that obstacles are being removed, and that your magic the call is going out and being received and will be answered soon. So very exciting there as far as animal totem messages go. Love paying attention to those always. And then, so I'm pulling cards and I love them. So we got Wisdom from the Vintage Wisdom Oracle deck. This is Athena. She is sitting there with an owl, and I will read the actual description because I really like Victoria Mosley's poetic landscape that she paints, and the symbols that she chooses to use are always really poignant for me in the way she specifically describes things. But we got Wisdom along with Knight of Cups. And so in the context of all the lessons that we've been getting recently, and on the heels of this Pisces moon within Virgo season, I'm really feeling that we are at this sort of fork in the road moment, which is probably why I choose to come and sit in this fork in the road here. I am at a crossroads. And you know, I think that a lot of us are kind of facing a potentially big decision that we have to make, or the way that we show up over the next few weeks is going to be very decisive in how the wheel of fortune turns for us and how things will play out. And that is actually in alignment with the energy in the Hebrew Kabbalistic observation right now leading up to Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is a day where, you know, we can atone for our shortcomings and our mistakes and whatnot, and then get back on track. And so those things are being presented to us right now. And I do think that there's also like the more that we can correct them, the day of Rosh Hashanah, the shofar is blown, and that is like, have you ever like seen people doing those sound baths, or like those crystal bowls that they do the sound healing? Essentially, that's exactly what the shofar is. The shofar is a sacred spiritual technology that uses the vibration of the sound combined with the meaning behind the ram's horn that blows through what we call klipot. And those are basically ego layers, layers of things that we have to transcend in this life according to like our soul specific assignment. Instead of karma in Hebrew, it's called tikkun. It's similar, but a little bit different ways. So we are preparing, you know, for the shofar blowing, which will blow through our negativity and really cleanse us of a lot of that, and open us up to receive a lot of light and enlightenment and fulfillment and blessing. But it also is, energetically speaking, it's a moment that opens us up to receive the amount of light that will then be distributed over the next 6 months in the seeds that we plant. And then the second half of the year, we will kind of see what kind of fruit we bear, and that's going to be sort of like the waning period of the year, right? So we really want to prime ourselves to receive as much light as we can, so those first waxing 6 months of the year, so to speak, are fruitful and prosperous and abundant. So we don't want to do any big we don't want to have any big boo-boos right now. We don't want to short circuit or blow a gasket or do anything that is like gonna be very self-sabotaging or self-destructive or out of alignment with what we are like speaking about and setting our intentions on and what our focus is. So try to stay in alignment there. Also the fact that, so if we compare the story of our lives to like the unfolding plot of a movie, so we've just finished like part 1 of a franchise, right? So we just lived through Ghostbusters 1, let's just say that. Now we're in Ghostbusters 2. This is a new story. And so the plot is sort of starting over again. And we had another message this week that was talking about like the hero's journey converging with the heroine's journey, which is our outer adventure is starting to converge with the subplot, what's going on the inside, what we're learning, how we're growing in a spiritual and emotional way because of these outer adventures, or as a result of them, right? So we are in this moment where everything's converging, and as far as the new movie goes, this grand new cycle that we're going into, where we have this opportunity to sort of embody more potential that we ever have in ourselves. You know, we've got a chance to be more aware than we've ever been, more consciously expanded. You know, we've transcended a lot of things and healed a lot of things. You know, it's always a work in progress, and the most dangerous thing is thinking that we're, you know, better off than we are. But like, we've improved, and we're expanding into this next journey. So this next movie is being written as we go, right? And you know, how we're setting us up in the beginning of the plot is going to tell a lot about what kind of new cycle we're going to have play out ahead of us, right? So how are you setting yourself up as a character? What kind of environment are you putting yourselves in? Who are your other supporting characters? Because I believe what we're in now, like this whole year has felt like opening credits moment, right? It has been a very long introduction. But now we are in that introductory period of the first 10 minutes of the movie, where everything's sort of being introduced and we're getting a lay of the land, and we're coming up to the first plot point. And what that is that now that we have been introduced to the main character and get an idea of some of the people that are going to be around them in the story, and where we are in our environment as they are in their current life, something happens that is a deciding factor that sort of flips the character's life around or upside down, and then it is basically the invitation to answer the call of adventure, and then they go out into the rest of the movie, and that's how the plot plays out. So we still have a bit of Act 1 to get through right after that plot. My daylight alarm went off, just letting me know that I had a certain amount of time left for the forest. So now that we are in the plot point 1 moment, that's going to be coming up kind of soon. That's why we need to be vigilant about being self-aware and present, so that we can choose with our free will where we want to go when this moment presents itself. After this, we still have a bit of Act 1 to get through, and before we actually go into that, the big confrontation, or the big main part of the adventure in Act 2. So just to give you a metaphorical sense of this, how our new cycle is playing out and where we are in the phases of the beginning. So it is important right now to use the wisdom that we have earned based on all of this experience that we've lived through so far. So this moment is a wonderful time to allow yourself the quietness and the stillness required for your mind to calm down, and for you to get quiet inside enough for you to start kind of hearing what your heart is telling you. What is it asking? What is it asking of you? What is it asking from you? Because it's ready for this grand new adventure. It's ready to be swept off its feet again by life, and to go out there and to, you know, have a whimsical and romantic experience of life and the journey, right? But our challenge right now is to find that again after having seen through illusion and figured out what is real and what is not real, right? So once we can see through the veils of illusion, where maybe we've misread things in the past, or misunderstood things, or taken things out of context, or thought something was a certain way when it wasn't. So when we see through those illusions and we understand what's real and what's really real, that's when we can go out and actually find this kind of a life is there. It's not like you can't trust Knight of Cups. You know, you can get swept up in the moment and have fun and get excited and be safe to do it. But you want to make sure that you're not doing it or building, you know, false senses of security that are just crashing towers waiting to happen, right? So this time around, we are following our dreams, but we're using wisdom, because we also don't want to get caught up in the illusion and waste a bunch of time and rob ourselves from the ultimate fulfillment, right? We want to choose things that are going to be persevering and sustaining, you know, and really go the long haul. So we are taking our time and letting ourselves observe, and also, like, it's time to change the tape. Like, we need to be able to observe what is actually just habitual thought, like where our mind has a habit of going, or where we think our feelings tend to go, but that could just be habit, right? What we're used to. So give yourself time to let things settle and, you know, practice just awareness and observation without judgment. And try to choose with that wisdom, but using your free will, right? And we want to be the cause consciousness. We want to be sustaining and eternal and perpetual, instead of, you know, jolting around and going up and down and being pushed by like the consequences and the circumstances of life, right? We want to be vibrationally and kind of emotionally really stable and consistent, just like the light of the Creator is. And when we are in that sustainability, that stableness, we're so in alignment with our authenticity and the ultimate truth that only good will be attracted to us, and anything that is not really in alignment or won't bring us that ultimate fulfillment it's not going to stay in our environment, right? There was a couple of things that I was going to tell you guys about. I can't remember. I know one thing was with the whole crow and the unexpected magic, I did have a really awesome thing. It was like a Mercury retrograde that ended up being a blessing in disguise. I went to the bank to do something like I was going to transfer a balance onto a 0% interest credit card for 15 months and get a card paid off, and then also have that, like, if you have more credit than you're using, your credit score goes up. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, you guys, but this is just stuff I've learned like recently and over time. So if you have credit and you don't use it, if you're disciplined, I'm not a credit card person. I do not like pay or buy things that are outside of like what I have. So I'm safe to do this. But if you expand your credit limits and you don't use it, then your credit score goes up. So I was going to do two birds with one stone. I wanted to get a really good card and transfer my small amount of, you know, credit on another card over to 0 interest and get it all paid off. So I went and did that a few weeks ago, but I never got the card in the mail. And like, I went to the bank and actually did it, but all these like weird things kept happening in the system, and the woman was confused, and like different people got involved. And then this other woman who was like kind of like a supervisor or something was also involved, and kept going through all these different hands. And then the card never showed up. And I was also wondering, like, according to the paperwork they gave me, I was like, I can't tell whether they even gave me the right card. So I needed to go make sure it was all settled. So I went into the bank this afternoon, and this woman was like, I went to deposit some cash, and then I was like, also have a question once we are done with the deposit. And so once I started asking the questions to the girl, this other woman who was the supervisor from that day ran over. She was like, I remember you, come over to my desk. And apparently what had happened is something didn't finalize that day, and it never went through, and they just didn't know how to like really get a hold of me or reach out, and so they've been waiting for me to come back to the bank. And so we reapplied today. I got like the best card with like the best possible like interest, and she was like, oh my god, I can't believe the limit you got on it, that's amazing. And I was like, yeah, it's more than I expected, like 2 or 3 times what I expected. And which is great, because then my credit score will even be better, and when I'm ready to buy a house, I'll get a good interest rate, hopefully. But yeah, so that was good. And then she goes, I'm really confused about this though. And there was another like number that was sitting there, and she was like, it was like for a line of credit. And then we were like both confused, and then she figured out that she was like, oh, this happens so rarely that I didn't even understand what's happening at first. But like your credit's so good that the bank is just offering you this credit line that you can have if you ever need it, and it's just sitting there like it's like a loan ready to go, and you can use it if you want to, and if not, you never get charged any interest or anything. It's just sitting there ready. I was like, wow. She goes, this is amazing. She was like, congratulations. I thought they were gonna like bring out the champagne. It was so funny. I've never felt this empowered at a bank. And she kept saying how she was like, man, I'm so glad that you're the customer that I'm doing this with, because our bank transferred to another bank because it got bought out. And so she was like, I've been learning this whole thing again, and so I didn't know that we could do all these things, and like I was able to just transfer my balance right then and there, and she didn't know that either. She was like, oh, you're so smart. It's so great to do this with you. And I'm thinking like, I'm terrible at these things. Like I was hoping that you would be my rock. And I just said, you know what? I just think when you at least have two people together, you can do anything, because you just have the more confidence with someone supporting you. But it was great. So that was all settled. So that was fun. That was like my magical help in disguise. Okay, I'm going to read wisdom out of the little booklet, and then I think we're done because it's starting to get dark, and I think I've said what I needed to. The last rays of the setting sun, oh my God, that's me right now, fall on this portrayal of mythic Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom, and her wise protector, the little owl. As stealthy night hunters, owls are revered as powerful totems. They have the ability to see things others miss, coupled with the acute sense of instinct. In ancient Greek mythology, Athena was said to have a blind side on which the owl would sit, enabling her to see the whole truth. She wears a rose, symbolic of love and the marriage between love and truth. After all, without love, there can be no wisdom. By drawing this card, you are invited to contemplate the far-ranging consequences of important decisions. Athena calls you to reflect upon valuable insights gained from your life experiences, and to decipher truth from half-truth. Wisdom is earned through the human experience of trial and error, and by trusting your inner voice over the voice of others. The willingness to learn from experience and be objective about the mistakes of the past reveals the mighty value of wisdom. A clever mind can be an asset or an enemy, but is by no means a measure of wisdom or spiritual intelligence. There is a world of difference between the two. In the words of Sandra Carey, never mistake knowledge for wisdom. One helps you make a living, the other helps you make a life. If you find yourself in a predicament, Athena reminds you to use wisdom to quiet the mind and shine a light on that which needs to be seen. All right, you guys, let yourselves settle into some quiet stillness and listen to what the heart is asking. And I also meant to say that one of the things about the Knight of Cups is that it's like your heart knows that it's wanting this experience again, but it's also warning you not to get caught in a false representation of this. That is another thing about the seeing through illusions, is that don't get swept up in someone's BS if they're not sincere. All right, y'all, be good. Ciao.